We'll be getting started shortly.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. What's up? It's me. I'm not beating the dev allegations today, but I am not a dev. I am just a commentator. So let's get that out of the way right away on frame one. Welcome to the call before the brawl. Now you might be asking yourself, why am I seeing this guy on a Friday dev stream? Normally, Friday dev streams are like where we have fun. And don't worry, we are going to have fun today. But the biggest thing that we are all looking forward to, and I hope you yourself at home are also looking forward to, is DreamHack Dallas. Yes, that is next week. The dates are, it's starting on the 2nd of June. That is next weekend, next Friday. So make sure, Toast, can we still register for that? Yes, you can still register for it if you have not yet. Make sure to do that now. It might be a little bit too late to figure out travel priorities, but if you aren't able to make it out to DreamHack Dallas, make sure to look at brawlhalla.com/schedule, and that will show you when you can watch along. Do we have a slide that is going to be showing viewership rewards for DreamHack Dallas? Okay, we don't have that. It's going to be a surprise. Wow, let's go. It's going to be really cool. Yeah, make sure to register for DreamHack Dallas before it is too late. Of course, that is an in-person only event. We have had many online tournaments this year, and we will have many more, but this is an in-person only event. Make sure to register only if you will be there at Dallas, Texas, to compete at DreamHack Dallas. So the reason we are having this is the same reason that we had one before did we have one before the Winter Royale? I'm going to say we did have one before the Winter Royale, and of course we had one before DreamHack San Diego as well. We're here to talk about all of the important implications and things that might happen coming up in DreamHack Dallas next week. This is essentially a pre-show to kind of get you into the mind space of thinking about in-person competitive Brawlhalla, because it's been a minute. The last time we saw it in an open tournament was at DreamHack San Diego, and that was, of course, in January, February, March, April 7th. So that was several months ago. By the time DreamHack Dallas rolls around, it'll be about 2 months later, and that's a big chunk of time. Now, I want to actually roll back to DreamHack San Diego and think about some of the things that happened. One of the main things that happened, Acno and Blaze got their 2v2 victory, their 2v2 gold medal, a major victory for Europe that few have ever been able to grasp in the past. Yes, we had Cake and Natty Mestic do it in the past at the World Championship, but it's been a very, very long time. And for a while there, people weren't really thinking that it was gonna be Acno and Blaze once kind of Godly and Fozy got together and really hit the scene. But all of a sudden at DreamHack San Diego, I was going to say that BCX was the performance of their lifetimes, but DreamHack San Diego might have been the performance of their lifetimes as they came out with the gold medal. And that was a big statement for them, not only as a team who has been undervalued, but also to put EU kind of back into the conversation as a major competitive region, because we saw South America at the Winter Royale. We saw South America at BCX. We saw South America, even at DreamHack San Diego as well, play really well and kind of solidify themselves as, quote unquote, the second best region behind North America. So we're kind of in interesting territory right now because, of course, we have Acno and Blaze coming from EU to win 2v2 DreamHack San Diego. We also have Use coming from South America to win the Spring Royale just a few weeks ago. We also have North America with Impala winning DreamHack San Diego in 1v1s. So we sort of have a battle between the regions right now, and I can't remember who exactly said it. I wasn't able to write it down, but it was at the end of the Spring Royale. I believe it was Flambeau who said it. And Flambeau said the regions are closer than they think they are. And I absolutely agree with that, especially after seeing Use's performance at the Spring Royale. Now, do I think that means that South America is the absolute best region? I think there's an argument there to be made for that, but I don't really know if you can de facto say that just because Use won Spring Royale. And of course, he did it very confidently, 3-1 in Godly in the grand finals with Vector. But I don't know how to feel about DreamHack Dallas. And I think the commentators at the end of Spring Royale also said that they don't really know how to feel about DreamHack Dallas. Because if we look at some time gaps here, and I want you to get into your kind of calendar brain, if we're looking at Winter Royale to DreamHack San Diego, or even Winter Royale to Spring Champs, there's a little bit under a month gap in between those two. And obviously, we saw the Winter Royale where a player like Kaina was able to completely dominate, won both 1v1s and 2v2s without dropping a set, played very well in the round robin at the Winter Royale as well. But ultimately, we saw Luna coming out on top of Winter Royale. Okay, so think about that in your mind. Then just a handful of days later, after the Spring Championship, after the Winter Royale, we had DreamHack San Diego. And who won DreamHack San Diego 1v1s? Impala. Someone we weren't necessarily really thinking about who could come out and take the gold medal. It might have always been in the back of our minds, but it was a little bit back there. It might have been a little bit dusty, especially after seeing him perform at the Winter Championship. Of course, not the same as a gold medal at the World Championship, and of course, not even qualifying to make it into the Winter Royale. We didn't see him at the Spring Royale either. So Impala has been like missing until he decides that today is the day he's going to show up. And one of those days was DreamHack San Diego. Now, if we look at the Spring Royale to Dallas, that is even more than a month. That is April 28th all the way to June 2nd. So with less than a month gap between Winter Royale, Spring Champs, and San Diego, we saw wildly different results from those tournaments. What is going to happen now that we have over a month gap between Spring Royale and Dallas? You can't just kind of draw the line straight across and say, oh, well, Hughes was first here, so I'm going to put Hughes in my gold medal. Godly was second place. I think Godly is going to get the silver medal at DreamHack Dallas. It's never that easy. That may end up being the case, but it's never really that easy, even if you wanted to come out with predictions and look at all the numbers. That's why in-person competition is so important, and that's why I want to highlight, before we actually get Duke in here to sit down right next to me, he is running a little bit late. Don't worry, it's not just going to be me this whole time. You're going to actually get some educated and informed opinions on this. But if we look at it overall and we think about who might place well at DreamHack Dallas, there are a handful of things, or really there's a lot of things we need to take into effect. We need to think about 2v2s, of course, and 1v1s, something that we didn't have to think about for Spring Royale. And if you want to look at Spring Royale as this like microscope, you also have to understand that when you're looking at Spring Royale under a microscope, you're essentially creating lab quality experiments where you're controlling for so many different variables in the moment. Of course, it's in person, so you don't have to worry about everyone's individual ping and all that. But because it's an invitational event where we're only taking the top 3 from North America, the top 3 from Europe, and the top 2 from South America, the results of a Winter Royale, a Spring Royale, or any of the other Royales are only based on that one day with that small group of people who have essentially been controlled and moved away from everybody else, secluded from almost every other possible variable that could come out. And then under those lab results, that's what we get from Spring Royale. So I'm going to go ahead and make this point here, since I do have a little bit of time, and especially time to talk on my own, is that I think it was at the end of the Winter Royale that Duke turned and said, Luna, of course, after Luna won the Winter Royale, Luna is the best player in the world right now. And I said no, because I do not believe that. And that is kind of because of these lab situations that we talk about, where we've made it antiseptic. We essentially control for every possible variable. We're not worrying about people's pings from home. We're not worrying about pools really going on. Yes, there's a round robin, but that will never be really as grueling as multiple days of competition with multiple days worth of pools, all while you're having to balance in your mind, I want to spend time with my friends. I want to hang out with these people that I get to see a handful of times a year, but I also want to practice, because really, ultimately, that's what I'm here for. I'm here looking at that top 8. I'm here looking at that top 4, that silver medal, that gold medal. So looking at just Spring Royale and looking at it in a vacuum and saying, I think this is exactly what's going to happen, or thinking that South America is the best region right now, I don't know if we can really fully say that. I think Dallas will be possibly the main proving ground for that, because we also actually do get Hughes coming out this time with the confidence that he built up from Spring Royale. We have more South American players able to actually get visas and make it out to Dallas than I think we even saw at San Diego. So this is going to be another proving ground for that region as a whole. It'll be a proving ground for Hughes as a player. Then we also have the other regions as well. S-Grape all of a sudden popping off now, doing much better than people, definitely better than I thought that he would do at the Spring Royale. So a lot of things are changing based on Spring Royale, and we've had a tremendous amount of time. Think about it, it's essentially like 5 weeks of time in between Spring Royale and Dallas. We've also had a balanced patch, but we do have one more thing. We do have a tweet that we want to put up on screen, and we also want to welcome Duke here into the call before the Brawl. Hey, Duke. Okay. We're good? We're good!
Check. Hello. I'm late. Hi. What's the tweet? I can't read it. It's super small. Who do you think will go home champions? Plural, because there's 2v2s and 1v1s. Very valuable. All right, well, what's going on? I obviously missed everything. Sparky's been
I was just kind of talking.
Yeah?
I was just kind of talking, trying to lay out the calendar for what has happened, what may happen. One of the biggest things I was talking about was there is like a 5-week gap in between the Spring Royale and DreamHack Dallas. I know the community tournaments have been going crazy. Love all that. Shouts out to Moose War. Shouts out to Bearded Brawl. Shouts out to each and everybody who's putting out community tournaments. But we haven't had a main official tournament since the Spring Royale, and even that was just this small group of people, this small control group of a handful of players. We haven't had a proper LAN with everybody there, an open tournament, since DreamHack San Diego, basically 2 months ago, by the time that DreamHack Dallas rolls around. So a lot has happened since then.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, there's also been that balance patch, which has hit a couple of the characters that I think people were expecting to be like played, right? So of course we have like the Kaya changes, things like that. We have the changes to like Caspian, I believe. He also got a couple of different things happen to him, or Lucian as well, like Katars and Blasters. So the character picks might change a decent amount as we get into San Diego. It'll be really interesting to see. Man, my hair's a mess. Holy cow. Don't look at me.
I'm wearing a hat because I didn't cut it today, so I forgot to shave my head. So I look like a very old bald man. So you mentioned one thing with that balance pass. Now, of course, we've also seen a little bit of great sword changes in there as well. Is the Vector downsig, the new one, going to be in for Dallas?
Yes. Okay, so big things that's coming in Dallas. The Vector downsig's obviously going to be there, which will be interesting to see considering, again, Hughes did so well at the Spring Royale, but also Thea will be legal at DreamHack Dallas. So also an opportunity to see that come out, which will be really cool.
Now, you do bring up Thea, and I want to go ahead and mention another player who has a history of victories in the state of Texas. Now, that is, of course, Kosalix. And I am, of course, referring back all the way to DreamHack Austin. Was it 2018?
Yes. It was a long
I'm gonna be a guy on the computer for a second.
Yeah. I think
so I'm gonna
like
say yes. Yes, it was DreamHack Austin 2018 where Kosalix came out in first place. Now, if, of course, we look back at the standings of that tournament, you're going to see a lot of familiar names, but also a lot of the names of today, or almost all of the names of today's Brawlhalla will be missing from that. If we look at first place, it's Kosalix, followed by Wrenched, followed by Boomy, followed by STTP Wilson, Lil Capped, Noel, Atrophius, and Phazon. That is essentially your top 8 for DreamHack Austin. That was essentially your top 8 for a lot of Brawlhalla back all the way in 2018. I know Kosalix is he's definitely been putting the time in. He's been playing 2s with Mirror Man, kind of teaching him the game. So, man, I don't know what Kosalix has to bring out for this event. I know he does have some home field advantage in the state of Texas, of course, even though he's Canadian, because of DreamHack Austin. Of course, Thea coming out, that is going to trip a lot of people up, especially if they haven't been practicing.
Yeah, I mean those SIGs can definitely check a lot of people. They did kind of get hit a little bit more startup time and a little bit of recovery frames on miss, but at the same time, like I was talking to Foden, he's like, I can't tell. They're still good SIGs, still can trick a lot of people, especially like those down SIGs will really throw a lot of people off. And one person in particular, Wes, has been talking about how he's probably going to be picking up the Thea because of course he's been playing with the battle boots on his Tesca, and then of course he's been playing Lance since who knows how long.
Now there on your screen, you are, of course, seeing that top 8 from DreamHack Austin 2018. A true blast from the past there to see those names, some of which, you know, still pop up from time to time. Of course, Phazon is probably going to be the biggest one popping up from time to time. But every now and then, Kostelix comes out. Of course, Boomy, as we know, everybody always loves Boomy. Everybody's always talking about Boomy. He's going to be a name that people will talk about forever, even if he's really not hitting those highs that he used to hit, but still obviously a threat in the bracket. So Thea is going to be a really interesting variable to add in to DreamHack Dallas. I don't know how many EU players are thinking about Thea. We do have a handful of EU players that do play on the boots. Seen a little bit of Machete with the boots. Yeah. So that could be sort of the introduction into, of course, EU also playing Lance quite a bit. We see a lot of Lance in EU. We always have through EU's history. When Lance was good, when Lance wasn't thought of so highly, pretty much all the time we have seen a lot of Lance in EU. So we could see a shocking EU Lance come out and do great work with Thea as well.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting. Machete is probably the one who's the most likely, given the carryover between, like, he's played some Tesca and he's played a decent amount of Lance. I think Frydazol is also another potential there, but maybe a little less likely. But I don't know. Let's do we want to go through, like, the list of people who are confirmed for Dallas and maybe talk a little bit about each one of them, kind of like we've done in the past?
It's not the easiest list to just kind of go through because of the way that Start GG works. So you could probably just like name some of the players that you think are going to be like your top eighters.
Okay. Well, let's talk about Impala because I don't think enough people have talked about him and the fact that like he's won the last 2 offline events. He won San Diego and he won the World Championship. And now people are like, yo, he's probably going to win Dallas as well because he seems to be winning. But again, we got to point out that Kaya got hit a little bit with those nerfs.
Let me see some of his recent placements here beyond those tournaments to see if he's been grinding those community tournaments to see what he's done lately for us here.
At Moose Wars behind Luna, if I remember correctly.
That hasn't been added into the database just yet from what I'm looking at, unless you're talking about Moose Wars King's Crusade. If that's the one you're talking about where he got second, he did get second to Luna, so I'm guessing that's the one you're talking about.
Yeah. I just know Luna was tweeting out like a picture of like the bracket and was like carrying this energy. Impala's not signed up for Dallas? Okay, never mind. That guy doesn't matter. Irrelevant player.
You can still please register. Hurry quickly. What's the link? Tell us. I forgot. It's probably DreamHack DAL.
Start DG DHDAL 23. I remembered
Hurry, please.
Impala,
sign up.
Come on.
Or Flamboat's just going to say like he did at Spring Royale, like Impala's not here, so it doesn't count.
True. That's how it works. You know what? Impala could just never sign up again, and nobody else will ever knock him down.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assumption that he could make based off of that. So, well, then let's move on from Impala. We kind of got caught
sandstorm.
With our socks wet or something.
Ew.
So let's talk about Luna. That's your guy. Yeah. Tell me about Luna.
Okay, Luna. Look, I'm going to keep it a stack. He's been underperforming. I love Luna. I think he's a great player. And he has this all-star potential. But if you look at his performances in these offline events, he has been underperforming. He's been struggling. Of course, he did well at the Winter Royale, but like BCX didn't have the performance that I think a lot of people expected. DreamHack San Diego didn't have the performance that a lot of people expected. Spring Royale didn't even make it into the top 4, and that's definitely been a struggle for him. He's been winning in the online, but when it comes to these offline events, he hasn't been showing up in the exact same way. But I think that's also like, that's fine because it gives him room to improve. A lot of times you see those top players get to the top and then they kind of just coast, and I think to a degree that's what was happening with Luna, where he's like, I'm already at the top. I don't have to worry. But getting knocked down time and time again, I think that really helps fire up a lot of players. We see it from Godly, right? So I expect the same things from Luna. I expect him to be in that lab, putting in the time and grinding. And I think the next couple of tournaments are really going to show if Luna's going to keep getting knocked down or if he's going to start to rise above all of these trials and tribulations that he's had to go through.
Yeah, it is wild that he is so good at online tournaments. Just looking at his placements right now, even if we're going all the way back to August 19th of last year, I'm just going to rattle off the tournaments that he's won in a row. Galaxy Cup Nova, Brawlhalla 3v3 Championship, InSig Showtime, Autumn Championship 2022, InSig Frightful Fight, Moose Wars Monster Mash, then he got a third, then he got a 65th, then he got a fourth, Frosted Brawls #2, then he got Hog vs. Dragonrend, then he got third at the North American Winter Championship, but Moose Wars Frozen Fury, Winter Royale 2023, Frosted Brawls 3, Dodge Dash and Glory, Moose Wars, King's Crusade, North American Spring Championship 2023. All of those are streaks. All of those include community tournaments and official tournaments. There you have it right there. You can see the long streak of singles victories. And then he shows up to DreamHack San Diego, and at least for what we would expect from a player like Luna, struggles. Coming in only in 5th place, doesn't even make the podium, doesn't even top 4, and he makes 5th at DreamHack San Diego. That is tough, and we've seen the way that these major underperformances have weighed on Luna. We see him communicate that at the end of a tournament when the results come in.
Yeah, it's funny because, like, he's PR #2, and I saw someone in chat being like, 5th place, that's not that bad. And I think for a lot of people, 5th place would be something that you can take home and wear proudly. But for someone like Luna, who, like you said, had so many gold medals, he was arguably considered the top North American. Of course, he's behind Impala, but a lot of people are like, you know, Impala, he won BCX. He's kind of carried by that. But after winning BCX and San Diego, a lot of people are turning their heads and looking at Impala as like the top North American. And Luna, the fact of the matter is, getting that 5th place, I think, really hampered a lot of people's expectations for him. So now he's in this really tough spot of like, is he going to get back on that horse or is he going to stay down after getting knocked off?
It almost seems like the Luna Impala relationship, and I'm stretching a little bit here, but it seems like the Luna Impala relationship is almost like the Acno Godly relationship, where like everybody saw Acno is like, he's the guy. When we get back to regular tournaments where we have a normal schedule with lands, Acno's going to be the guy. He's going to take it home for EU. He's going to show all those North American Yanks to get out of here because it's EU time. And then Godly steps in, and Godly just kind of steamrolls it. That's kind of a little bit of what I see with Impala and Luna. Now, of course, the online space still belongs a lot to Luna. But when it comes to the actual serious events, when it comes to DreamHack San Diego, he's struggling. And it's only been a recent thing. So it's not like this is some major trend that's been happening for months and months or a year or anything like that. This is a recent slump. And this is important to see as a commentator, and I'm sure as a viewer as well, to see the ups and downs that a player goes through, because at the end of the day, of course, we all understand that players are human. So seeing this up and down, seeing him reach these absolutely super high moments, of course, winning the midseason invitational, winning the spring championship 2023 online, of course, winning the Winter Royale as well, but then also to see these low points and see that it is a struggle to stay good in this game. It is so hard to get good in this game, and it's even harder to stay good in this game. And we're seeing that with Luna right now. I mean, we saw it with Impala as well, winning the World Championship, then all of a sudden not making it into Royales, then all of a sudden winning San Diego, and then what is going to happen next for Impala? Is he going to cruise through Dallas? We don't know. So I actually really am enjoying this kind of tug of war back and forth between Impala and Luna. We might happen to be catching Luna in a low spot. We might be catching him in a valley, but you know, if he sticks with it, if he's able to dig himself out of this, all of a sudden he's going to find himself on the peak of Everest.
Okay. Well, of course, we can talk a lot about Luna, but we also got to talk about so many other people, because a lot of people are going to Dallas. Let's you know what? Let's hop the pond a little bit. I love talking about NA, but let's talk about some other people. Let's talk about Godly. While I guess you
Now,
pull up Godly
Godly,
stuff. Oh, never mind. You got it.
Godly's an interesting one,
Okay.
man. I don't know how to feel about Godly right now. He didn't even top 8 San Diego. And he was going into this, like, it's been every tournament since his sort of rise to stardom where he's like, nah, I know what I'm going to do, and this is the one I'm going to win. I figured it out from the last one, and this is the one that I'm going to win. And then he doesn't. And then it's like, okay, well, now I learned everything. Now I know everything I need to know, and I'm going to go on to the next one, and I'm going to win it. And then it doesn't happen. And it just boom, 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 over and over and over. And that's really tough. That's really tough because everyone like around the world has built you up in their minds as this absolute superstar. And then all of a sudden hopes are dashed. And I mean, you see the Twitch chat messages coming in, you look at those results, and there's almost like a dysmorphia there from like understanding how good you are to seeing what the actual results are on the page. So Godly just hasn't caught that lightning in a bottle that he did when he first burst onto the scene in EU yet.
Yeah, it's super tough. I'm starting to see these parallels between Godly and Luna in the sense of like they're both dominating their region in online events. Godly was winning basically everything since his return to Brawlhalla. Then he took a little bit of a stumble at the Autumn Championship, but then we go to these offline events and he's consistently fallen behind. Second place at BCX, nothing to scoff at, but still, you know he wanted that first place. And then, of course, didn't get to the top 4 at the Winter Royale. He got second place at the Spring Royale, still has yet to take home that gold medal for the EU. But one thing that I think really works well for Godly is that mental. He has pure raw confidence in himself, which is something that's so valuable in the Brawlhalla space because you have to have confidence in yourself as a player. You have to believe that you're going to be beating everyone in the bracket, and that's what Godly brings to the table. The hard part is just like he has to show it because he's stumbling just at the finish line. He has not quite gotten that gold medal yet.
And that also kind of has translated a little bit over to 2v2s as well. Of course, he's teaming with Fozy yet again for this, but if you look at San Diego 2023, he got 7th. So just barely inside of the top 8. And that's off of a Spring Championship 2023 victory, coming in first place on that, all of a sudden to barely making it into the top 8. And then if you look at his singles placements as well, winning the Spring Championship 2023 and then not even top 8ing at DreamHack San Diego. So it seems like it's been the step forward, step back, step forward, step back, step forward, step back for Godly at almost every turn. And again, the reason that we talk about like the second place or the third place and that it's him not reaching his quote unquote potential, that's because at one point, so many people all over the world were like, Godly is the best player in the world. I've never seen a player like Godly. When we get back to LANs and we have international competition, Godly is going to wipe the floor with every other player in the game. It's not even that EU is good, it was that Godly is good. And then EU is just attached to this, like the flags on the side of you at flag football. You can rip them off, but ultimately the person at the end of the day standing is going to be Godly. He was considered by so many different people, not even just like Twitch viewers, but like actual top players who are winning tournaments, that Godly is the best player playing the game right now. And we just haven't seen that really come to fruition once you add the rest of the international community in.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes you have to remind the community of like the energy that was going into the World Championship. There was this build-up of Luna versus Godly, both of them dominating in their regions, and we hadn't had that in-person event yet. So the Godly has just been winning everything except for the Autumn Championship, where he just stumbled a little bit. He was still in the podium. And then on the other side, Luna's been doing really well in 1v1s in North America, but maybe a couple more stumbles, but that was like the big storyline was Luna versus Godly. We get into the World Championship 1v1s. Godly beats Luna to go into the grand finals, and out of nowhere, there's this guy Impala who just walks his way through the grand finals, and it's just like Godly was so close. He's this person who's been built up so hard, and I think he's still basically carrying the hopes and dreams of EU right now, but at the same time, like, does he have it to get the gold medal at Dallas? I don't know.
I think for Godly to get the gold medal, I think everything just has to just hit right. the vibes just need to hit in just the right way, because he's gotten pretty close several times. Now, he did get 3-1 by Impala at San Diego, but still, I think all the variables need to trickle into place at just the right time, and I don't think that a miracle needs to happen for all of those things to go right. Like, you have to check off just enough boxes in order for Godly to win a tournament. And if he checks off just enough boxes, doesn't have to be every box, but if he checks off just enough boxes to get him over that hump, I think he does have the ability to do that. And this goes back to his mentality of, he's not saying, I'm the best player in the world, I am miles ahead of everybody, I am light years ahead of everybody, nobody can step to me, everyone stands in my shadow. It's that I will win a tournament this year. This could be the tournament that I win this year. It's really kind of focused on that first step of getting that one tournament win. Not the first day of 2023 season, I'm going to win the world championship. I'm going to win every tournament this year. It's not some major moonshot like that. It's the idea that I'm going to win a tournament this year. Because for a player like Godly, that is absolutely doable. He could have won every tournament this year. I don't think anybody would have been that confused if that happened. We would have still been living in the real world if that happened. So I do really respect the mentality that he has of, okay, I learned some more things from that previous tournament, and this could be the one that I win.
Okay. Let's talk about the other region that, of course, has suddenly stolen the limelight. Let's talk about the South Americans. And in particular, I know that there is at least one person with a higher PR, but let's talk about Use, because Use is the one with the spotlight. The winner of the Spring Royale, winning literally every set. Did he lose a match at all in Spring Royale? Am I crazy?
He had to. There's no shot.
I swear he went basically undefeated at the Spring Royale.
Oh no, yeah, he definitely lost games.
Okay.
He just didn't lose any sets.
He lost games, did not lose a single. Okay, he didn't lose a single set.
He went game 5 with a lot of people.
Okay,
he went game 5 with Knees. He went game 5 with Wes. He went game 5 with Megdy. He went game 5 with Godly. He went game 5 with Luna. But that's almost as important. I think you can still make a very important point from that, even if he didn't 3-0 everybody. It's that it went down to those final moments, and he was still able to clutch it, and not just one time, but he was able to hit that consistently. And that's just as important as being able to steamroll everybody in front of you, because realistically, being able to own everybody, that's just not tenable. You cannot count on that for any length of time unless you're Sandstorm, who is like a generational talent in the game of Brawlhalla.
Well, Sandstorm didn't win San Diego. But let's talk about Use a little bit more. Of course, I saw some people in chat asking about those stats. You can see those stats over at prostats.brawlhalla.com. Again, Use likely going to be coming in with the Vector. That's what we saw at the Spring Royale. Of course, we do know his Jae-Yun. That was what he played at the Spring Championship to get to the Spring Royale. But when it comes to the offline events, it seems like it's all about that Vector, which is a pretty niche pick. Not a lot of people are out there playing that Vector. So will be really interesting to see how he adjusts, especially again with that new down signature, which I think per his own words was not that great to him, because he actually really liked the old down sig. So I don't know.
Yeah, the Vector is an interesting choice, but I feel like it's interesting culturally rather than like scientifically, because obviously Lance is a solid weapon. A lot of people have shown that. They've shown that over Brawlhalla's history, and they've shown that in current meta as well. Of course, Bow, another very strong weapon in Brawlhalla's history and in current meta. You look at those things, has some decent signatures, not the greatest signature kit out there, but overall, if you looked at it maybe empirically and took like the culture of looking at Vector out of it, you might think like Vector is a decently solid character. But it's when you add the culture in of a lot of Lance players don't really move forward, and that's because we haven't had a lot of Lance legends, right? Is if you look at a player like Kostelix, who is he playing? Let's take Thea out of the equation because that's a new development, but it's like Scarlet, it's the occasional Roland. Those are very old legends. Even if you look at a lot of the Lance players in EU, who are they playing? If we're talking about twos, we're talking about Olgrim, a very old Lance legend as well. we rarely see players picking up the Artemis. There was like Wilson at one time. There's a handful of other players, but no like new Lance legends that players are picking up. All of a sudden, we have those newer Lance legends, especially with Thea. We might see people moving on to that. So we might see the culture of Lance players changing from those old quote unquote old legends to the quote unquote newer legends like Thea that have some of those newer things in their kit. Like eventually Lance players might have active input on signatures, all of that comes from like having a newer, new age, modern legend. We could see people begin to pick that up, and not just because their favorite player happens to play them in a tournament.
Well, I will also point out that a lot of people were making a lot of fuss online about the Lance buff to downlight, in particular with Vrax, giving him downlight and neutral light. So there's also that potential for somebody to bust that out at the DreamHack Dallas, but also there aren't
Stingray will probably play
that
him.
many. Yeah, I guess Stingray was probably like the only person who would play Vrax that I can think of. But yeah.
Okay, I'm not going to say Stingray will probably play him. I think it would be a smart choice if Stingray chose to play him.
Okay. Well, we'll see. Of course, Stingray will be going to DreamHack Dallas. Is there anything else you wanted to say about Use before we go on to Stingray?
Use is an interesting case because I feel like the reason we...
He literally said on Twitter that he's going to DreamHack Dallas without his mom.
Okay, well,
I'm just saying.
Somebody better, everybody at
he needs to sign
Stingray up and tell him to sign up ASAP Rocky. So the interesting thing about Use is like Use has been one of the toppest guys in South America, right? The very first Caratada land, I don't even think they called it Caratada 1. I think it was technically Caratada 0. He won that. That was the first land that like made me think about Kaina. And I was looking at Kaina playing in that and like, oh my gosh, Kaina has the potential to be one of the best players. And of course, Use ended up winning that tournament. And Use and Kaina have been going back and forth in 1v1s in the South American region. That's been a treat to see because they're kind of like at two different stages in their career. I feel like Use has been in this spot for a while and just because of being online for such a long time, and then even with visa issues, which is why he couldn't go to the Winter Royale, all of a sudden now it seems like the rest of the world is kind of cluing into Use. The rest of the world is clued into South America, and a lot of them are clued into like Kaina after BCX. But specifically now people are starting to get on the wave of Use and understand that Use has been doing great work in South America for a really long time. So seeing him win the Spring Royale, yes, it's a surprise, and it's a surprise for a lot of different reasons, but also it's not the craziest thing to happen in the world. If you told me Use won, I'd be like, what? Use won? But I wouldn't be like slamming my door open, running down to the town square and saying, hey, all you people, won't you listen to me? Like this is some earth-shattering thing that could have never happened before.
Well, I can tell you Toast was really excited. He was screaming for
he should be
a South American W. But Use, again, definitely an amazing player 1v1s. Now let's talk about Stingray. Stingray, one of the North Americans who has been consistent in going to these Royales. He's also done pretty well in these online events, but then you look at the Spring Royale, and a lot of people point out the fact that he only won one set in the Spring Royale round robin phase, and that was over Luna, which he definitely needed for that morale boost. But at the same time, like Stingray, he's just in this really weird spot where people are like, how good is he? He has that potential. We saw him clutch out sets at BCX. He beat out Sandstorm, but then he just sometimes doesn't perform. He's a very hit and miss player.
Yeah, he's one of those coin flip players, but I think his coin flip is it's a cheating coin. It's a weighted coin where it's weighted on the side where he does really well, but it's just weighted a little bit more. It's not like he's hitting that every time. You just said that, and we're seeing his stats right now, and we can see that for ourselves. Ignore the DreamHack San Diego 129th. That is because he got DQ'd, so don't think that he officially got 129th because he lost to so many different players. But look right under that at Spring Championship 2023, third place in that. Even at the Winter Royale, it's a tough spot. 6th is not great when you're in a group of 8 people, but of course he had to get there off the back of the Winter Championship that happened right before that, where he got 2nd place. Is Stingray going to be kind of I don't even want to say relegated, because being one of the best online players is also like really awesome and very difficult to do. But is he going to be considered as sort of that quote unquote online player? Now, of course, he had the 4th place at the World Championship. But aside from that, I mean, maybe Dallas, if he signs up in time, that's it's all very contingent on him signing up in time. We'll see what he has for us at Dallas, because he is one of those, like, this is a good day, this is a bad day, and there's really not much in between.
Yeah, it really can be a very hit and miss thing, and I want to see him perform in these offline events. But at the same time, like, I think I brought this up at San Diego, is like we're starting to see the advent of like the offline player and the online player. We're seeing people like Godly and Luna and Stingray who are winning all of these online events, and then we go to offline and you've got like Impala and Sandstorm who are just kind of getting above everyone else in these offline events. And it's very interesting to see that dichotomy, because it's not like Sandstorm or Impala are making it out to these Royales.
And that's interesting because there was one time in Brawlhalla's history where we had that as well, and it was in like, maybe it was like 2018, 2019 time frame, where we had like Boomy and Sandstorm were winning every twos event, and then if they were offline, but if they were online, it belonged to Lil Captain Phazon. Now this is different from that, because that was Boomy and Sandstorm not really caring about online. They didn't put the amount of dedication, they didn't put the amount of practice into those online tournaments, because they essentially wrote that off and were like, hey, we got offline. We're going to take offline every time. No one can step to us offline. If you step to us, you're going to find out why we win every offline tournament. But that's not the case here, because we have these players who are putting in hours and hours and hours of time in practice for those online tournaments to come out on top. So yeah, we have these sort of parallel tracks that are much more interesting than the parallel tracks that we had a handful of years ago before COVID with Lil Captain Phazon and Boomy and Sandstorm. So I really like seeing that, especially because it's in 1v1s. So we're getting to see so many different moving parts. In this tournament, these players are going to play really, really well, like Java and Fakey, who played really well at DreamHack San Diego all of a sudden. But then we also have our online group of players where they'll perform really well online. We'll get to see them. We'll get to learn about them. We'll get to see all of the things that they do as a team, see that team chemistry, but then it's like a new group of people offline. And if you can bridge the gap between the two, that's even more interesting. So we have so many avenues for narratives here to just really provide like a rich base of lore for Brawlhalla Esports, and I love that.
Yeah, it's a really, really good time to be a fan of Brawlhalla Esports. I see some people coming into chat. They're like, what the heck is going on? Are they just talking about players and stuff? This is before the Brawl, because we will not have a stream on Monday. It is a holiday here in North America. So we want to give y'all a little taste of what's going to be going on in DreamHack Dallas, talk about some of the players to look out for, some of the storylines going into it, so that when we get to DreamHack Dallas and you're watching it at home and you got your popcorn in your hand, you're not like, I don't know who this Stingray guy is, but he has got a cool Orion. You actually kind of know a little bit about him and how well he's been doing. But let's go over to EU again. Let's talk about Knees, another one of those people who I think is kind of under talked about. Knees, again, one of those ones who's consistently been out to the Royales. He made it to Winter and Spring Royale, but I didn't realize, what, are we actually that close to time? Oh my gosh. Okay. Quick spiel on Knees. Knees is great. Knees does not get talked about enough. He also did well at San Diego, and as long as Katy Perry isn't playing in his ears at Dallas, I think he'll do pretty well.
So Knees will be teaming with Lorez, which I think a lot of people are going to really enjoy. I think we're going to, like, there are a lot of Lorez heads out there, and there are a lot of Knees heads out there in EU. So I think we're going to see this, like, this beautiful coming together between the two regions as South America and all the Lorez fans root for Lorez, and all the Knees fans, especially Polymonto out there, rooting for Knees as well. I think we're going to get a really nice eclectic group of people and a very large fan base for this team going into Dallas. But you mentioned that we don't talk about Knees a lot, and honestly, very good player, but I think that's kind of fair that we don't talk about him that much, because, I mean, we're seeing his placements right in front of you. They're all over the place. Of course, he has the potential, like at Slam Rock 2023 or at Galaxy Cup Nova, to come out in first place, but he also has 13th at DreamHack San Diego. He has 33rd at Love and War 2023. And now he did DQ one set there, but he also went up against someone who had a DQ as well. The World Championship, 13th, very solid. But then at Carried 2022, 13th place there as well. The Midseason Championship ended up getting 17th place. And we saw at the Winter Royale as well. Really struggled. He was 7th place when 8th place was someone who could not make it to the tournament. So I think the amount that we talk about knees is a little bit fair.
I'm just saying,
because he is all over the place. And we do always try to give praise when he does really well, like the Spring Championship.
Yeah, he made it through both championships to make it to the Royales. He made it out of the top 4 in the Spring Royale as well. You got to give him a lot of credit as a player with growth, but definitely someone to keep an eye on at the very least. Let's get one more South American in. It looks like they want us to talk about Loras, but instead I'm going to say Kaina, because Kaina's a little
that's messed up, bro. That's Lora's disrespect.
I don't like Loras, and he knows it. No, I'm just kidding. Loras is a great player, and he has incredible growth. Oh, Kaina hasn't signed up? What the heck, y'all? Why are y'all doing this? Sign up. This is why we ask y'all to sign up early, so when we do these, we're like, oh, okay, that guy, he's coming. All right, fine. We'll talk about Loras. Good. All right. Loras, someone who I have... Oh, Kaina's just straight up not going. Tragic. Okay. Loras is someone who I have consistently been... I've dogged him a little bit. I'll admit that. I think I was very harsh on him in the past.
That's so messed up, dude.
But, yo, he's overcome all that. He's a great player, and I think a lot of people need to watch him.
Now, it's interesting that you wanted to talk about Kaina, and I was looking at Kaina's stats, and Kaina got 3rd at DreamHack San Diego, and it's like, uh-oh, okay, who got 4th? Look at who got big 4th place. It's Loras, baby. 4th place at DreamHack San Diego. So right behind Kaina, Loras is sort of, it's kind of the quote-unquote like newest name, at least for me to really be paying attention to in South America. Now, eyes have been on Loras for a little bit of a minute now, but it's like Kaina. Kaina was the new guy in South America. It was kind of this, kind of that. Kaina might win a tournament this year, blah, 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 this and that. We kind of took a step back from the Fiends and the Wesses and the Powers to really focus on Kaina for a minute because it seemed like he was the guy. And then all of a sudden, Spring Royale happened, and we're really focused on U's. But Loras is doing so much good work in South America. 4th place at DreamHack San Diego, 4th place at the Spring Championship as well. So those back-to-back 4ths are really important for me looking at someone and analyzing how they might do at their next tournament, because the 4th place at Spring Championship for South America is great. It shows he's very competitive in his region. Wasn't able to make it into the Royale for the Springs by qualifying like top 2, but still, that's important. And then he moves on to San Diego, which is an international group of people. You're adding in so many new players, so many different play styles, so many different matchups that he may not have gone up against. And what does he do? Exactly as well. All of the new variables added into the equation, not a problem for young Loras.
Yeah, Loras, it's interesting because he has kind of been like that bench player who suddenly got to play, right? He was kind of that fill for the midseason invitational last year, and since then, like, he's just had this explosive growth going from a double-digit PR player to now sitting in the top 3 for the region, above people who all made it to that midseason invitational above him, and he's just been doing incredibly well for himself. I got to give him credit as a player in San Diego. I'm pretty sure he knocked out Luna as well. Like, he's one of those people who, like, we look at, or I look at, and I'm like, oh, you know, I don't know how Loras is going to do because he's this young guy. He's still got a lot of room to grow. But you know what? He's been beating out a lot of people, and I can't give him too much gruff anymore.
Yeah, let me talk about a few of these matchups that he did at San Diego. He took Kaina to game 5. Before that, he beat Luna 3-1. Then before that, he lost to Sandstorm, the GOAT, but he 3-1'd Boomy, 3-2'd Luna even before that. So he double knocked out Luna, 3-0'd Kosalix, and 3-0'd Vocal. So that is a fantastic amount of gameplay and performance for DreamHack San Diego. Loras very much went from like the person who's being included, almost like your little brother, where it's like, oh, mom told me I have to include our little brother here, while everyone else is being like, okay, South America didn't perform in the midseason invitational as well because like you're missing Power and you're missing all of these other handful of players. Well, like we got Lores, but we're missing all of these other players. To all of a sudden now, if we have an event without Lores, it almost seems like he is added into that conversation, saying, well, I mean, does it really count? We don't have Lores, we don't have Vecino, we don't have Sack. So those are like those three players right there have done a great job of stepping up. Of course, we're really lasered in on Lores right now. I can't wait to see what he has for us the rest of this year, and especially at Dallas.
Yeah, Dallas is going to be a really, really interesting one. Again, there's a lot of interesting people who could potentially win out at DreamHack Dallas. There's a lot of people who this could be their opportunity to really kind of step back up and show that they do deserve that spotlight that we've been giving to them. So that's, of course, going to be a big event that's happening in about a week from now. DreamHack Dallas signups are still open. Start.gg/DHDAL. Sparky, any final words before we let you get out of here?
Impala, sign up at everyone at let's hold on. I'm gonna find his Twitter real quick so everyone
Impala
can add him.
No. Is it Impala?
I think it's like Impala something VS or it's Impala VS. Impala, the letter V as in victory, the letter S as in south. So yeah, there you go. Make sure to at Impala and tell him to sign up. Make sure to at Stingray, who I believe is LOL Witty. That is LOL Witty, WITTY1 on Twitter. At both of them and tell them to sign up. Registrations are still open for DreamHack Dallas starting on June 2nd. Make sure to register right now. Don't wait even a second.
Yep, you got to make sure you get out there to DreamHack Dallas. If you're in the DFW area, if you're in Texas and you can make it out, highly recommend it. It's always a great time to come out to these in-person events. But I think that's all we got today for this Before the Brawl. Thank you all for watching. Toast, is there anything else I gotta mention? Do we gotta talk about the bundle on Twitch or anything? No? Okay, cool. Yeah, you all know this stuff.
If you are unable to make it in person, make sure to go to brawlhalla.com/schedule to see when the streams will be starting for DreamHack Dallas.
Go tell Sandstorm as well, apparently. Anyways, thanks for watching. We'll see y'all on the next one. We'll see y'all at Dallas. Bye.